all the time? Right? And I'm being a company man. I'm showing up early, staying late, working on my days off, overtime, all the time. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Am I right? I ain't getting nowhere. Then I go to work one day and they say, we gotta lay some people off. I'm like, whoa. Any of y'all ever been laid off? Yes. Have y'all ever seen anybody laid off or fired? Yes. Is that pretty? No. Did you think you was exempt? No. Really? Because I go to work and they say for the first time in the history of the plant, we gotta lay some people off. And I'm sitting there saying, wait a minute, what y'all doing? I'm broke with the job. Now y'all talking about laying somebody off. I can't pay my bills. They said, and they put you in a room and have everybody face this way. And while you looking in the front of the room, they just putting up stuff on the wall in the back of the room. They said, well, after the meeting, you can go check the wall, and if your name is on the list, you are laid off, you can go home. Your name is not on the list, you can report to your department. They said, those who are names on the list, you don't have to worry about filing for unemployment. We already did it for you. I'm like, nah, that's a cracker-backer bull, that now. How do people downtown know I'm laid off before I know I'm laid off? And they said, and those who go to your station, we hope, but we may have to lay some more people off in 6 weeks. Right. So I go to my station. Now I've been there 5 years. I've worked myself up. I'm a patrol. There are stations you go through. There were layperson, then there are golfers, then there are patrollers. See, patrollers get to walk around and make sure everybody else is doing their job okay. You know, and you say, Carlos, how you doing? Everything going okay? You got it under control? You need any help? Okay, fine. I just get to walk around like that and just take it easy. So I go back to my station and they say, Earl, what? You dolphin on schedule 1 today. I'm like, what you talking about? I ain't no dolphin. I done that. I got promoted. Yeah, but we had to lay the Dolphins off, so the last people that got promoted had to roll back the Dolphin, and now you got to go back to the Dolphin. I'm like, okay. So now I got to go Dolphin. And then y'all saying in 6 weeks, y'all may have to lay some more people off. Which means y'all just lay them off. If you got 6 weeks, y'all say some more, I'm gone. Right? Right. See, I left work that day and decided that I had to do something different. I never got recruited in the Primerica. I knew some guys that always did something on the side. And I went looking for them, and they're not that kind of guy. There you go. Okay, so I went to one of my friends' houses, and he told me about Primerica, and he told me about coming to the meeting on Monday night. I said, okay. And I came to the meeting that Monday night. And I set it up in a meeting that talked about, that they explained this business. I was 23 years old at that time. I didn't own insurance, didn't have any investments, and never had a conversation with anyone about finances, except for the fact that I owed them some money that I couldn't pay. That was my experience with finances. People called at my house, and back then we didn't have caller ID. So when the phone rang, we didn't have cell phones and all that stuff, so, you know, you had to be careful answering the phone. You know? So you had to answer the phone like, hello. Somebody said, this Ivan, if you recognize him, you know your friend, you're like, yeah, man, this is me, what's up? But if it was one of them other people that says, we look at master Ivan Earl, he ain't home. Well, I'm like, he ain't gonna be home no time soon. Have that conversation, you know. That's the way it was. And all right, so I go to this meeting, and they really talk about the difference between cash value insurance and buy-term invested difference. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, wait a minute now. So cash value insurance work that way, and buy-term invested difference work that way. And so yeah, I'm like, well, any logical person would pick that. Ain't nobody knowingly will pick that. Okay? Ain't nobody gonna buy something that if I gotta pay for 3 things, I only get 1. That's like buying a 3-piece suit and you go to pick it up and they say, here the pants. I bought 3 pieces, but you only get 1. You know, so nobody will buy something where you're paying for insurance and savings and you die and you get the insurance, but they keep the savings. Really? Really? You know, like you come and ask for some of the savings, they tell you they'll loan it to you. So where I came from, if you told one of your homeboys to hold somebody, and then you went back and said, man, let me hold that. You know, I let you hold $200-300. I asked you to hold it for me. Can I get 100 of it? He said, I'll loan it to you. It's going to be an accident. So I'm like, I know, you know, so I can understand the difference in them 2 things, right? Right? And then they said, well, every time you do one, we pay you about $250. I'm like, excuse me. I just hear you say that every time I talk to somebody and they say yes and buy a policy, starting out, y'all pay me about $250. He said, yeah. I said, how many? I'm like, do you know what I'm doing right now for $250? You know, I gotta put in 40 hours a week of hard labor to get $250 on Thursday. And y'all should have been telling me y'all gonna let me have a $250 every time I do one? They said, yeah. I said, okay, I'm getting ready to see. Okay? So I joined the business. My first, now after the art meeting, I'm gonna tell this guy that invited me, I said, I think I wanna do this, what I do next. This is what he said. He said, well, I will call you tomorrow and tell you who to go talk to because I am quitting. He said, I don't get along with my RVP, so I don't want you to come in under him. So I'm quitting. I'll call you tomorrow to go to me. See, I don't know no better. I'm like, you know, I need $250. Some of y'all be like, oh, why are you quitting? What's the problem? I ain't got time for that. I need $250. But they told me in 6 weeks they might send me home, right? So I got my license immediately. My first one, I did 6 sales. Changed my whole life. First one, I did 6 sales. I made $1,500 part-time. Changed my whole life. I took $1,000 and put it in a savings account. Okay, and I took $500 cash and put it in my pocket. Okay, that was gas and food and whatever I wanted to do with it. And I took my money from my job and paid my bills. And it was like, I don't believe this. I really don't believe this. I don't believe that it's a feeling like that. I ain't never had $1,000 unassigned money in my life. And then my brain started playing tricks on me, Carlos, because then I said, maybe I just got lucky. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe this ain't real. Maybe I just beginner's luck.
Right.
Let's see what happened next month. Next month, I did 6 sales and recruited 1 or 2 people. Made another $1,500. You know, now during this time, people calling me, my bill collectors calling. Maybe we speak to Ivan Earl, I decided I ain't lying no more. They like, I answer the phone, hello, I speak to Ivan, this is it. I said, well, this is Barclays Financial. We're calling because we haven't received your payment yet. I said, I know you ain't sent it. I know you ain't got it. I ain't sent it. I knew you didn't have it before you knew it. Then they said, well, we'd like to know when can we expect payment. You can expect it anytime you want to. get it. They're like, well, don't you get paid Thursday? Don't you still work at the plant? Yep. That's why I ain't got your money. Don't you get paid Thursday? Yep. Can you bring us a payment then? Nope. They're like, why? Because you ain't the first one called me today. And then I does it. Look, I'm trying to get your money, and when I get your money, I'm gonna pay you to it. But what y'all ain't gonna do is be calling me, worrying me to death every day. There ain't nothing I can do about it. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Right? I gotta keep my mind positive, excited, and motivated, because I got something that might work in my life. Right. So I did that, and that was my start. And what ended up happening is my first recruit, I told y'all last night, I averaged 6 sales a month. So I averaged 6 sales a month myself. I recruited a guy named Earl Brown, my first recruit, the only person ever joined me from the plant. Aaron averaged 4 sales a month. He's still with me today, 35 years later. That's my son's godfather. Okay. Then I hired a guy named Larry Hall. The way I got Larry was I replaced a whole life policy that he sold his sister. His sister and her husband worked with me in the plant. So I talked to them and went to give a presentation. They had a $50,000 whole life policy that he had sold them from Pilot Life. I replaced it with $150 on each one of them. And I'm in Quincy because now I can afford to go eat. So I was in Quincy restaurant one night eating dinner, and he walks up to the table and he says, "Are you Ivan Earl?" Well, you know, he said, "I'm Larry Hall." I knew he was a whole life agent. I thought he was getting ready to we just fight now. You know, I know by term the best difference is better than whole life garbage. It was a joke whole life policy, so it was only going to pay on the first to die anyway. And he said, "I really want to look at that." He said, "What is it that you sold my sister?" I was brand new. I ain't know. You know? So I invited him to the office the next day to meet with the RVP. He came, he liked it, you know, because I never forget my first sale I made with one of my friends. I made that sale at 12, I think it was 1 o'clock in the morning when I wrote my first sale on my own. He worked from 3 to 11:30. His wife worked from 8 to 5. So he said the only time we home is from 12 to 6 in the morning. Good, I'll see you at 12:30. You know, and I'll never forget writing that policy. I asked him, his name is James Brown. At the end, I said, "Do you understand?" He said, "I don't understand nothing." He said, "What I do understand is this." Because I told him, "You my friend." I said, "You know, we've been friends a long time." When your wife was pregnant, because he didn't have a driver's license. So when I was young and I used to be out at night in the clubs, I was leaving the club one night coming down the road. I saw this car coming toward me and it was wobbling. I'm like, "Who is that?" So I look and it's him. He ain't got no license. He's trying to get her to the hospital because she's not going in labor. So I turn around, I go back to the hospital, and I walk in the waiting room, and he in there shaking. So I said, "What's wrong with you?" So the doctor come in and he said, "Mr. Brown, your wife was, you know, she in the delivery room." He said, "Mr. Brown, your wife would like for you to come in the living room." He come out, "Earl, what?" I said, "Go in there and see what devil wants." So I go in there and she looked at me like, "What you doing in here?" I'm like, "We friends. If something happened to you, she gonna call me, am I right?" So that's how I made the sale. I'm like, I'm in the business. You can't have insurance with nobody else. We friends, right? That's the way we used to explain it. And I said, "Do you understand?" He said, "I don't understand nothing." He said, "Well, I do understand is this. Whatever you selling us, it better work. If it don't, I'm going to kill you." So I'll never forget that. That was my first sale. You know? Then when this policy came in, I tried to go deliver. And I called him. I said, "I got your policy now. I need to come deliver." He said, "What for?" I said, "Well, you need to have your policy." He said, "No, I don't. You said if something happened to me, then we got to call you."